And welcome back to another thrilling installment of Turn the Page. That's right, your local heroes are back to tell you all about comic books, news, toys, video games, anything that we believe is necessary to tell you about that's important to us, or we're going to make it important to you, or we're going to just annoy you with rabble about it. Either way, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends and your grandmother, because Turn the Page is your local stop for all the news and fun that you need to be having. That's right, I am mentally programming you right now. And I'm going to go ahead and let you know that not only am I, Tony Stevens, the star power back to tell you all these things, but my best friend, my adorable sidekick, Ronnie Shanks, and the sex appeal himself, the Professor, Ghostman McClay, is back to tell you all the things that you need to know about artsy-fartsy stuff and how computers work. Now, starting off, I've heard a lot of news, Ronnie, coming out of the MCU. Of course, we've had to wait for most of this year for anything to be produced. But moving into 2021, we're going to be getting a download of a lot of MCU material. However, one of those big things I know is the Disney Plus shows. And one of those shows that they've announced is She-Hulk. Now, I thought that we had an actress already signed on for this part, but tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, pretty much shocking to everybody, the main actress that was supposedly cast for She-Hulk, Tatiana Maslany, I apologize if I mispronounced your name, but she announced on, I think it was either Twitter, well, regardless, she posted on social media she was not cast and is not a part of She-Hulk. And she said that the press releases got way out of hand and people just ran with stories that were not true.
Huh.
And which is kind of...
would go ahead and say that she was, if she wasn't, A, and B, why she... If I was her, I'd wanted to be on the show. I'd just say, yeah, that's me. And then just kind of...
the thing...
Marvel into...
I assume that she's still in the running, right? Like that she's one of the people that they're looking at, and then someone kind of ran with that. And no decision's been made. That would be my guess.
Yeah. Well, it's the thing that's confusing is that the showrunner herself said congratulations to be part of the team, and Mark Ruffalo even congratulated her as well, which that was just kind of weird.
Marvel got confused. That seems fishy to me. I don't know what
it does.
She just got really drunk and forgot that she signed a contract. Hopefully
that sounds about right.
Now, speaking of figuring out who's your lead actress and who's not your lead actress and what kind of stuff they're wearing or driving, we've also got news coming out of the front of the Arrowverse. I believe this would be considered a part of the Arrowverse, but that's the Batwoman television show. And we already know that they're replacing the lead actress with a woman of color, I believe, this time. And
yes,
hopefully she does a really good job. She was already on the show, though, wasn't she?
I'm not certain because I didn't watch it. But she... I watched the first couple of episodes.
I have not seen a single episode just to make you feel better.
That she has a Batmobile now, right?
She has a Batmobile now. It's kind of interesting because it looks like a modernized version of the 60s Batmobile in terms of like color scheme and look. I mean, that's the feel that I got from it. And the lady that's playing Batwoman now, it's going to be a completely different character. It's actually no longer...
right, it's not Kathy Kane anymore.
Kate Kane, yeah. It's someone else. So, I mean, I'm intrigued. I'm actually going to see what they're going to do with that next season, especially since Bruce Wayne's supposed to be, well, faux Bruce Wayne's supposed to be a part of it. And
now, when we say faux Bruce Wayne, are we talking about the one that showed up on the Titans TV show that was on the DC Universe app?
No. It's the one that showed up on the end of the season finale, I think. I think it was like Hush or somebody. I'm not sure. Because, again, I have not watched it. I've just been kind of watching the news. But
is that why you said faux Bruce Wayne? Because he was actually Hush?
Yeah, because it's
it's
not actually Bruce Wayne, but apparently this is the person that they actually cast as Bruce Wayne. But I'm really interested in watching it.
He would be the same actor, right?
Yeah, they would look the same.
Right.
Is there any reason
Hopefully.
why, like in story, like why the Batwoman is leaving?
Because Ruby Rose left, and now they're going to have to write it.
Well,
So we're
so
not
they
going to know
don't actually
until
have a in-story reason
No.
for the
So basically,
replacement.
Greg Berlanti's just let it holding the bag again.
Well, maybe her head
If I had to
exploded, so they
guess-
got to replace her.
It's going to be the Court of Owls. That's what I'm guessing.
Well, they don't need to be doing anything about the Court of Owls because it has nothing to do with them, and they need to go ahead and touch on that in the real Batman movie, just to make it that much better. That's my opinion. Go ahead, Matt Reeves, if you haven't finished, and edit that into your movie. You'll thank me. You've got 2 years left before the movie comes out. Just saying, there's plenty of time. Go ahead and film a new movie if you have to. That's how much time you've pushed back on the release date of the movie. But
Oh, that's right.
in other news, not hating on the fact that DC can't get a movie released until 2022, but our good friend, our loved, beloved actor extraordinaire, Michael B. Jordan, I'm actually going to throw this bone to you there, MBJ. He is producing a Static Shock now. Is this a movie, TV show? What's going on here?
It is going to be a movie, and it was actually announced during all the big, huge DC fandom event, but it was something that I missed. Like, no one really covered it until they're like, oh yeah, now Michael B. Jordan is doing this, and I'm like, where was this coverage back then? But then again, plague and all this other stuff happened in the world, people kind of got sidetracked.
Yeah,
Kinda got lost
the
on the
first I'm hearing
wayside
of
of-
it.
Well,
I know,
maybe
right? That's
as a producer, he can bring us something that's really new and fresh and entertaining. That guy that
oh yeah, definitely.
the Miles Morales character, he should play Static Shock.
Ooh, that would be cool.
Yeah,
That would be really cool.
I don't know how to deal with voiceovers, but I think that he did a good job as a voice actor, and from what I can tell, he could probably. Donald Glover could do it, maybe. Well, no, Donald Glover's a little bit silly. I'm going to go ahead.
He's too old, isn't he? Like, isn't Static Shock like a young?
Static Shock's supposed to be
adult?
younger.
And Donald Glover comes out and starts dancing for us, and then says that he's the Static Shock, but then starts rapping, and then he decides he's an actor again. And then
I would watch that.
it's Donald Glover. Do whatever you want to do, Donald Glover. I'm just saying. Static
Yeah,
Shock.
I would authorize Donald Glover to do whatever he wants. I trust him.
Well, okay. Anyway, speaking of the decisions that DC makes, there is Detective Comics. That's always confused me. DC Comics is Detective Comics. But they are moving into their 5G event. And I know that Ronnie has been just pining for this event. He has been waiting for it. It's the completion to his life. It's going to make him sleep better at night. It's going to give him so many warm, fuzzy feelings about his favorite comic book characters. Ronnie, tell us just a little bit about how 5G has already started to affect your sleep cycle.
Well, first, I hate you. Second, it's not 5G. It's they rebranded it, and I forgot what it was. Forgive me, I have to look it up. It's Future something or another.
Probably a good idea that they rebranded it, because even the 5G confuses me. I keep thinking of like cellular.
It's supposed to be like the 5th generation.
Future State. It's
Yeah.
called Future State.
That's a
And it's
better
taking
title.
place. Yeah, it sounds a lot better than 5G.
Deal.
I just thought that they got mixed up with their parent company, AT&T, with 5G. But anyways,
It's a cross promotion.
that would not surprise me. But no, they have basically what they're doing. They're showing it far, far into the future of what's going to happen with all these characters. And Superman did something yet again, and now he's off-world again, and back at World again. And
Maybe
this time it shows him.
called himself Homelander and got kicked off the planet.
I wouldn't be surprised. But anyways, he's wearing it's really interesting. I'm definitely intrigued by the book just simply because I like the look of it. He looks like pretty much like what if Kingdom Come Superman was a barbarian?
Okay.
And
so
he has all the weapons and stuff. So I'm like, this is Planet Hulk, but Superman. Now I'm just sitting here, I'm like,
Planet Kal-El.
okay, whatever. There you go, Planet Kal-El. But no, I'm interested in that. What I'm not interested in would be the Dark Detective.
I'm sorry, you didn't say that quite right. Did you say the Dark Knight?
I said the Dark Detective.
Oh, you said Batman?
Yes, it's Batman. So basically what happened, Bruce Wayne's dead. There's
But
somebody
not-
called the Magistrate, and they killed Bruce Wayne. But, oh, surprise, he's not dead, and now he's trying to solve his own murder as the Dark Detective, who looks exactly like Batman without a cape if he played Airsoft. I am not happy, DC.
Now, like I think I've talked to you about this
I am
before.
not happy.
I have a question, Ronnie, and I can't remember how you answered it, but like, is the Dark Detective just the name of the book, or is that what he's calling himself? Like if someone asks him, "Are you Batman?" and you're like, "No, I'm the Dark Detective."
That's what he's calling himself.
Oh no!
Or is he going to say, no, I'm not Batman.
I'm not Batman.
I'm not Batman.
Swear to
What are you
me.
guys Batman now? I'm the paintball detective.
Well, you
But
sound
see,
just
there's
like
a Batman that's going to be running around during that time, which is supposedly looks like it's going to be Duke Thomas. I think it's his name. I'm not sure.
Why isn't he like? What's his rationale for not being Batman, but instead looking just like him, except paintball like gear, and calling himself?
Okay. Hold on. I got this answer.
Oh,
DC.
Give it to us.
okay.
Right.
DC Comics. That's the answer. Any question like criticizing like choices, just say DC Comics. And done.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing right now, and it's really frustrating. And it's even worse.
See, Duke Thomas was a Robin that nobody wanted to pay attention to. So what did they do? They turned him into.
He was Robin?
Originally was teased as being called the Lark, and then the Lark, the yellow kind of sidekick for Batman, along with Bluebird, decided not to be called the Lark. He decided a better nickname for himself would be the Signal. And then throughout the Dark Metal event, he gives himself some sort of impotent. I mean, he's just so important because he's like a mutant that can shine the light on the darkness. It was very cheesy. It was very bad. And now he's supposed to be Batman for me. I don't know about that. Maybe Luke Fox, he'd be better if you wanted to. I mean, he's already wearing an armored Batman outfit. He's Lucius Fox's kid. If it needs,
he would be good.
Somebody, don't give me this Duke Thomas person because he just. If we had another event to decide whether or not Robin got to die, Jason Todd would live this time and Duke Thomas would die. That's how I feel about it.
Jeez. Okay, so turning the page on that one.
And it wouldn't even be the Joker. He doesn't rate that much. It would just be a sideline character like the Killer Moth.
Yikes. All right. It's okay. So next, another beloved hero getting the raw treatment, the Flash.
Oh.
So
See, I don't know
Wally
about
West. Oh yeah, you don't. So Wally West finally just came back into comics again. They finally figured out what to do with him. He was becoming awesome, and then Future State happened. He is going to basically what's happening. He's going off and killing off all the Flash family members, and no one knows why. And
Wally's doing it.
Been giving us
Wally's becoming
to killing everyone.
Yeah, now he's back to killing everyone.
Does he call himself Savitar? Are we just like making the Arrowverse in comics?
No, I don't know. He's just the Flash. It's Wally West, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is going to be a heartbreaking series." And I'm like, the only thing heartbreaking are these editorial choices that are going on. But
well, you know, thanks for at least being honest about that and not supporting DC just because they have a namesake.
Man, I mean, if you look at, obviously I'm a DC fan. Look at all the Superman stuff there. Look at it.
Well, hey,
I love DC.
I've got a lot of Green Lantern stuff over here.
Yeah.
Which I
don't
heard
have anything.
news that they've decided on the HBO series that they're going with that we're not getting Hal Jordan or Jon Stewart. Is that correct?
That is correct. We're getting. Right, this is more of a realm of your knowledge because I haven't been keeping. Oh, never mind. Name came back to me. Jessica Cruz, Guy Gardner.
Oh, God. Cool.
Simon Bays, something like that, and Alan Scott were the names I recognized. And
so basically, we're getting all the lower tier Green Lanterns.
Yeah, which.
Okay. Well,
now, is this a series? That's probably why. Yeah, so they're saving the big guys for like the Jon Stewarts and the Hal Jordans for the theater, or if there is a theater, but for something more grand, I guess.
Where's Kyle? I want Kyle.
Well, Kyle is small enough to be in a series, but at the same time, if done right, could be the main star of a movie. I think
that is true.
Just saying, if you did a Parallax,
that's very true.
You could have him versus Parallax, saving Hal Jordan, Jon Stewart coming back to blow up another planet, whatever needs to happen. But, that is my one DC vice is a little bit of Batman if Greg Capullo's drawing it or if Scott Snyder's writing it, and mostly Green Lantern. He floats my boat. But that's needless to say. Now, in bag of Marvel news, I heard that the MCU is talking about casting Kraven right now, at least as far as Jimmy Kimmel needs a job, right?
Yeah,
Wait,
he was.
Kimmel in the running?
No, he jokingly said he was cast.
Funny. I mean,
Jimmy Kimmel is Kraven the Hunter.
Jimmy Kimmel is still not funny. Well, I hope they don't cast him as Kraven.
Ouch.
So who is on the casting block?
He can successfully get cast as Sarah Silverman's boyfriend. So, just saying. I personally, and if this was me, I know Gerard Butler, he's probably too busy. So, you know what? Won't even call him. But definitely Jason Momoa would be on the top of the charts for me for Kraven.
Yeah, I can see both of those. I think those are good ideas. Plus, you and me, we could audition.
We could do it. We could at least be the stunt doubles for it.
I'm not doing that. That's dangerous.
Okay, I'll be.
You can do that. You can be my stunt double.
I'll be if there needs to be like a gratuitous butt shot, I'll do that.
Oh yeah, you can do that too. You got a nice butt.
Yes, you could.
Yeah. I'll tell people that's my butt. That's not my stunt butt or my butt double.
My friend's butt. That's mine.
Yeah,
Hopefully they get somebody lined up for that. But I would throw out that if Jason Momoa can't do it, don't call Michael B. Jordan. It just doesn't make sense. And maybe Gerard Butler would like to sign up for it. Or, of course, now he's already been a character within the MCU, playing the Executioner in the Thor Ragnarok movie. But I think Billy Butcher himself could actually pull off Kraven.
What about Carl Urban?
Yes.
That's Carl Urban.
Oh, you just said Carl Urban? Oh, sorry. I was phasing. I was trying to remember Billy Butcher's name while you were talking.
Page names.
Yeah.
Well, in other news, I know that they've got a 12-inch Commando Spawn coming out. That's a pretty cool deal to me. Todd McFarlane's really hitting it out of the park. If you love nothing but Batman and Spawn figures, check out McFarlane Toys because he will make plethoras of different editions of Batman and Spawn. And we are getting plenty of those, and they all look really good, so that's not to hate on him at all, but you know what? Give us another character, too. Just saying, Todd, we love you. Keep inking stuff. Maybe fix Rob Liefeld's work, and then go ahead and give us not just Batman, but maybe a Robin, while you're at it, or, a Talon, or, something. Just it's all.
There's a Flash.
But it's all cool. Love you to death. Keep doing what you do. You have done an amazing job with your life on succeeding at what you wanted to have done. So hopefully we can all get that done. And hopefully we can go to a commercial break. That's right. We're going to go ahead and cut to a commercial break. Hopefully it won't be hijacked again by any crazy hijackers. And after that commercial break's over with, we'll be right back here, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to be talking to a very special guest. So join us right back here for the interview of the century, right here on Turn the Page.
So, Quinn's Anime Corner. What are we talking about today? Bleach. It's a kind of cool anime series. Tite Kubo doesn't really know how to plot out a story well. So Anime Carrot Top basically is the main character. He finds out at an early age he can see ghosts and stuff, which is spooky. He would be a cool Ghostbuster, though. This leads to his mother dying. Fast forward to when he's a high schooler, he finds out that death gods are real. The one he happens to find looks like a high school girl. Totally irrelevant. There's multiple of them, though. But on an adventure with this girl, he finds out if you get stabbed by a death god, you kind of maybe get powers. You become a substitute death god. It's kind of like a substitute teacher, basically. So, along with my life as a teenage death god, he joins this crusade to kill these things called hollows. Now, why are they hollows? Well, they have a hole in their chest, not because they're empty on the inside. Along with him, he has friends such as Future Back Problems, stereotypical anime guy with glasses, and Chad. Yes, you heard me right. They call him Chad. But that doesn't matter. So those other death gods I was telling you about, well, guess what? Here they come. So K-pop and bad life choices show up to punish high school death god girl for being a traitor. So they beat the tar out of Carrot Top and they whisk her off to the Soul Society where the death gods live. Carrot Top is very upset, reasonably so. So he goes and enlists the help of the beach bum death god to train him. Usher in the 80s training montage, which begins a rinse and repeat cycle of, hey, let's get stronger to go invade this place. This is the whole series for the most part. So they go to the Soul Society. Guess what? They kind of have a military or a police force. There's 13 squads, each with a captain. And lo and behold, the 5th squad's captain's dead. But instead of inciting a civil war, what do? Let's blame New Kids on the Block. Obviously, they did it. So fast forward through many successes and failures. Turns out Spectacles, the new captain of the 5th squad, bamboozled them all. He rope-a-doped them into this so he can steal a super powerful marble. Along with his 2 traitorous friends, they bounce to a land called Waco Mundo. It's white sand and permanently nighttime there. Anyways, so he has an army of these things called a Roncar. He found a way to give Death God power to the Hollows, and then in their inner echelon, they have a higher tier of soldier called a Espada, ranked 1 from 10. But guess what? That number 10, yeah, he's fake. The strongest person isn't the number 1. He's really 0. And unfortunately, Planet Namek arc from Dragon Ball Z, you're going to have to step off your throne. This whole arc was supposed to take place in the span of 6 to 8 hours, but really took 4 years real life time to complete in the comic. I'm sorry, I know you were up there for longest moment in Dragon Ball Z / anime history. It's time to give up the crown. Now, these next 2 arcs, I'm going to shorten down really quick. Basically, you get an arc with the Too Cool for School group with their leader, who is toxic ex-boyfriend who wants to get revenge because he got tossed aside by the Soul Society. And then later, Spirit Nazis. But I think I need to go.
Hey, are you doing it again?
God.
Get out of my room. Hey, and welcome back. This is a special episode of Turn the Page. I am Tony Stevens, your star power, being rejoined by my adorable sidekick, Ronnie Shanks, and the sex appeal himself, the Professor, Ghostman McClay. Nobody really knows him, I hear, but we are bringing you back for another special episode of Turn the Page, where we actually have a live human being that's crazy enough to come on our show and tell us about themselves and their latest project. And Chris, that's you. Sir, please say hi to the audience.
Hi, everybody. Thank you guys for having me on the show. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, thanks for saying that. He is at least good at lying to us, so that's good.
Well, I said looks. I said looks. I didn't say it was definite.
It's
You
not
gotta do your job.
We're not promising anybody fun.
But yeah, I'm so glad you're here. I actually wanted to take time to talk to you about your book that got released. I've got a little copy of it right here, the hardback, which if you're out there, you can have it on Kindle. I know that's true, but you can also have your own hardback to add on to your bookshelves, which...
The
Makes you
hardback
read
just
smarter.
looks so much better than something on your phone. It's flat. You can't really hold it in your hand. I
And
get
you can
paid
smell
more
the
if you buy the
pages.
book. There's a lot of reasons to get the book. There's a lot of reasons. None of them selfish.
I like having it because, and personally, I've got to applaud you before I started asking you a whole bunch of personal questions about your life. I
It
got
was
to
weird.
applaud
It
you
was very
because this,
stalkerish.
I love this. I love the interior artwork because to me, it's very reminiscent of when I was a kid and I was reading the Conan books. So Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Buccaneer.
That is high praise. Thank you. And that is Mitch Foust who did the cover and the interior art.
And there's another shot of it.
He is
again.
a fantastic artist, an amazing fantasy artist, and I'm lucky enough to call him a very good friend.
That's awesome.
Or as Mitch would say, he's a man of few words. Mitch Foust, man of few words.
Well, all right. Well, if you're ready, I want to go ahead and ask you just a few questions, sir. Like I said, they're going to be really super personal. I'm going to ask you about that time you were in jail for doing that one thing.
You're going to have to really expand on that.
Oh, well, honestly, and speaking to the fact, I mentioned the fact that it was a lot like Conan. Reading through it and seeing the interior art to me was a lot like Conan back in the day. But in your opinion, what were some of your inspirations that led you to writing this book?
Well, Robert E. Howard's Conan novels were obviously an inspiration because a lot of fantasy novels nowadays, there's the chosen one, there's the epic quest. It's part one of a cycle or a series. But the Conan novels were this is the story, this is what we're going to tell. Conan needs to fight this creature or save this person. That's the novel. That's the whole story. And I came up with the idea of the story, and I liked it. I liked that it would be a self-contained adventure. And we didn't have a lot of that. I honestly still think we don't have a lot of that, where we have adventure novels, where maybe the same hero or heroine shows up in the next book, but it's not connected other than that person.
It's like an
It's just a
episodic.
continuing adventure of their life.
Yes.
I like that. And he definitely had, I like the way that you split it up into the 3 parts. Because I'm a slow reader, but at the same time, because it seemed to show the development of the character as well. And he was very introspective throughout. So that was very interesting to me. But I know that Ronnie wanted to ask you a few questions too. So I'll let him go ahead before I hog the camera.
Yeah, I got one for you, man. So let's delve into the mind of Jowers for a moment. What is your writing and world building process?
Writing process really starts by having the idea and just start writing. You don't have to start writing at the beginning. If your world, your characters are, in a sense, speaking to you, just go ahead and put them on the page, because that's going to help hook your drive, your creativity into finishing the product. And that's what happened with Lostborn. I've had a lot of books I've written, and I mean hundreds of pages that have never seen the light of day because it just didn't hook me. It never really stuck with me. I kept writing. And when it comes to world building, I always tell people, be careful, because create the world the character lives in. Don't create the whole world. The story of Thulric Lostborn takes place in a certain land, and there's mentions of the outside world, and then that's it. Because a man on a mission that he's in such desperation and such fire for him to do the right thing here, none of the other stuff matters. It's just about trying to finish this quest, trying to stop this evil. I'm trying to be as generic as possible because I'm one of those authors that cannot stand spoilers. And I hate it when an author talks about their own book and they ruin something. They ruin a scene or something like that. Just, it kills me. It gets under my nerves. But also, when world building, start with your character and go outward. And that really helps cement everything together, I feel. Connects it. Like the spider's web has a center for a very important reason, other than catching and digesting insects. It has a very important reason. Holes.
So that's a big part of it, food. That's interesting, though. So the character himself is almost reminiscent of how you're doing it. You're a man on a mission. You're writing what's going on, not necessarily getting lost in the sauce of having an entire world that's become the character.
Well, if you think about it, that's our everyday lives. When you're driving to work, if you're not listening to the news, you're listening to an audiobook, you're just listening to music, you have no concept or thought of what's happening 3 blocks from your position, much less what's happening in Indonesia.
Right.
And
Yeah, it makes it much more personal that way, I think. And,
Yes.
you know, people can relate to more personal, smaller stories more than they can to epic world building.
And I think you're right on the money, because how am I supposed to feel and connect to a character if I have 75 characters? Joe Abercrombie is one of my absolute favorite fantasy authors. That's one of my favorite authors of all time, because he can do that. He can give you multiple characters with rich backstories and you're hooked into them. But to me, that's a rarity. There's too many authors in all genres that try and do exactly what you're saying. It's way too many characters. How am I going to connect and feel for this person?
That's a good point. Okay. You have another question for him, John?
Well, speaking with the characters, you know, I know that some characters can be more of a joy to write. Do you have a character that you just, when you go to write their lines or their story, does it fill you up more for one character over another?
Well, for the book, it was Thulric for the beginning of my writing process, because I knew where the story was headed. I knew the emotion that was going to happen as I went. But then when I first wrote Marku, the berserker, into the story, and he said his first lines, I just was like, I love this guy. I love this guy. And I actually just had him to be a one-off, be one of those interesting characters, kind of like in a Stephen King novel, where let's be this interesting character who's only in it for one scene and then they never show up again.
Like a Boba Fett.
Yeah, like Boba Fett, exactly. If Marku is up at Boba Fett's level, then I have to praise, I've won. But it worked out where I created another scene where Marku gets to stand out, and it's kind of his scene. And it just felt that if this continued, that I'd have to do more with that character, because I loved writing this berserker who's crazy all the time. Instead of just being crazy in battle, he's absolute insane 24/7. But he's funny. He's the Punisher with a little Robin Williams mixed in there. A little bit Bill Burr. More Bill Burr than Robin Williams, but he's funny.
Bill Burr, the Punisher?
Yeah, that's Marco. Put those two together.
Yeah, that is pretty scary.
Speaking of that, though, you know, because a lot of times if somebody's thinking specifically, I know that with Chris Claremont, especially back when he was doing the Uncanny X-Men, he had specific people kind of in mind when he started writing a character, or the look of the appeal of a character, old actors, stuff like that. How did you really start this process, the journey of writing into this? Did you have somebody specific in mind when you were thinking up a Thulric, or?
Well, weirdly enough, this project came out because Mitch Foust dared me. I had written a previous novella called The Last Ride of Sam Hain, and it too was about a character who was supposed to be over the hill. He was a gunfighter. He was a gunslinger and an outlaw in the Old West, who in his much, much, much later years gets revenge against the mob who have killed his sons. So it's his last ride, his tale of revenge. And he jokingly said, if you write a story about an old Viking, I'll do the cover for free, ha ha ha, or he'll do the cover. And at a convention, I walked up to him and pitched him the idea of Lostborn and walked away as a joke. He hunted me down. And if you know Mitch Foust, he doesn't leave his art table for nothing. And he says, look, jerk, I've been thinking about that story for the last 2 hours. You need to write it. So when it sort of sparked me to have a little bit more inspiration about it. But I thought of course, David Gimmel's Drust the Legend. If you ever want some great action adventure, perfect human dialogue, human nature, fantasy, David Gimmel cannot be missed. And Drust the Legend, or Legend, which was the first book that he was in, he's a warrior who's been over the hill, and he has to stand one more time. and it was an inspiration. Gran Torino,
Oh,
same way.
yes.
I'm a bit of a World War II buff, and there was all these stories of soldiers coming home with that mentality, that grit and iron that war had just sort of compressed and forged inside of them. No matter how old they got, it was still there. And I liked the idea, especially in the Viking world, where if you were 40, you were somebody's great grandfather. Like, people were like, how are you this? How are you alive? And if you were alive, they kind of looked at you weird, like, shouldn't you have died in battle already?
Yeah.
The idea hit me of like, that would be sort of a perfect character. And also in pro wrestling, when you see pro wrestlers, it's very rare to see a pro wrestler in their late 40s to 50s still performing, still working that hard and at that ethic, that aren't injury prone, that aren't in a bad situation in a bad way. And so that sort of grit and determination inspired Thulric to come about. And then I just sort of worked the character on my own,
Okay.
giving him a backstory, giving him the drive to to hopefully succeed in this quest that he has to take on.
Yes, no spoilers. He might not
Yeah,
succeed.
It may not
I have to punch myself in the face if I did it. I'm that anti-spoiler.
Spoiler alert, last chapter, he pulls something in his back, goes home, takes some painkillers.
I will punch you through the computer, and that's impossible.
All right, so the non-fun part about the writing process, can you explain the publishing aspect and the process of that?
I was very lucky. Tommy Hancock of Pro C Productions is a friend of mine, been a friend for many years, and is a friend of Mitch, so we all knew each other. And when Mitch hunted me down at Mid-South Con and said, wow, this sounds like a great story, you have to write it. He told Tommy the idea, then Tommy hunted me down and was like, look, if you finish this and it's good, I'll publish it. Because we had known each other for a while, spoke about writing, spoke about books, so he knew me. And I turned in the first draft, and he said, I was very lucky because he goes, we've got some grammar mistakes to fill and some questions to ask. He goes, I've never received a manuscript and that I can think of in a long time that was story-wise, nobody wanted to change a thing.
That's good.
And I was shocked, because usually
Awesome.
you need to change this scene, the tone is wrong here. There's a lot of editing things you need to do to kind of hammer out the perfect product. And I just got very lucky, because when I got in the flow of writing, I just kept going. I was doing like 12-hour days of just sitting and writing.
Oh, wow. That's great.
So
Wish
this
I
was
could
what I was
write like
teaching.
that.
So I had the summer breaks, and I had breaks where I could take the time, obviously, to do that. And I got very lucky that way. Afterward, you got to do the hustle. It's all about the hustle. You have to get out there and sell the book. And that's one thing I've struggled at, because my life as a teacher at that time, and then losing my job, and then having to find a new job, moving to a new city. So life sort of took over for me. And it's just now that I'm getting back into it. I'm getting back in there to, this year was supposed to be the year I was at conventions selling books.
Yeah.
That didn't happen.
I feel you there. We had
Yeah.
so many cards printed up to go to conventions with and hand out cards and start peddling our magic. And as soon as we got our tickets, we got the email, hey, sorry, the world has the COVID. So
That's
I
the
feel for you. I feel for you there.
But in my example, I got very lucky. People at Pro C Productions
Awesome,
were
man.
great. We did the book release at Mid-South Con the next year. So from writing to release, it only took a single year.
Oh, that's great.
And we sold out at the convention.
How long do you think it'll take before the audiobook comes out?
Well, that's going to be the harder part, because I want to do the audiobook myself. And that's difficult. I have to find an editor. So you have to find an audio editor, somebody that can listen to it, say your performance is great here, it doesn't match this. It's a little bit more difficult. And also
It's a lot of
making sure that
material.
it's a ton. And having the studio built where I can make professional quality. That's the other. Actually, if you see the walls behind me, hopefully by the next time we speak again, you will see sound baffling all over. So I'll be turning this room into my sound. I do voicemails as the characters to certain people that I know. And as soon as I do it, they go, when's the audiobook coming out? They immediately press me about it.
I mean, there's a lot of slow readers out there, and maybe some people who can't read at all. Maybe like some 4-year-olds who really want to get into Lostborn and they can't read
their
yet.
parents are letting them listen to it. They got bad parents.
If they're Viking parents, they will let them listen to it.
It's a rough book. But honestly, audiobooks to any aspiring authors that are out there, audiobooks is really where the market is moving toward, because people do want to listen more now. They want audiobooks to take out. Podcasts are going to dominate more than watching the news.
I hope so.
Definitely, and it's a good and it's also a really good revenue source if you can find a way to do it yourself or do it with people you know and your own connections, because they'll pay $14 or $15 for the audiobook. Let's being a little selfish here. So your revenue coming back is more.
Wow. Before I ask you the next question, can you give us a small taste of what Thulric would sound like?
Oh man, I haven't practiced Thulric. I can give you Marku pretty easily. Marku.
Okay, so let's hear that.
I don't know why you're wearing that shirt. You've killed no one. You've not earned red. Now I, on the other hand, my armor is almost. Sorry, I forgot how weak-willed and weak your bladder is. Just for me talking you may wet yourself like the small child that you obviously are.
That's great, man.
That's
Well,
Awesome.
how long did it actually take you? You said that the whole process took you about a year, just from start to finish. But how long did it actually take you? Because I know a lot of people, when it comes to sitting down and just getting the words on the computer or paper or however you're writing, it can be a real hitting a brick wall kind of process. How long did it really take you just to sit there and get the manuscript done?
I would say about 7 to 8 months for getting the manuscript itself. Because by the time, I'd say about a week after Mid-South-Con, I was writing.
Okay.
And I remembered something that Stephen King had said, where he goes, there is no such thing as writer's block. Right.
I like it's a job.
If you write like it's a job, but also if you write 13 pages and 2 sentences are good, at least you got those 2 sentences on paper. And he said with typing, it was a different story because of paper and ink and the cost of and all that. But with digital, he goes, just right. And so that's what I did. And there's how many, 30 or 40 pages of Lostborn got cut out. Like there's a whole section of more of other things, I'll just say that I had to cut out because I realized it wasn't the speed I wanted. I wanted this adventure to have a certain pace because it's frantic. What he's doing is on a timetable. He has to get it done, timeline rather. He's got to get this quest finished or awful, horrible things are going to happen. So extra stuff just was getting in the way. And I thought they were good pages. I thought, they were some really good writing. But the tempo, it just ruined the tempo of the book, so I cut that out. So it was a 7 to 8 months. But again, I was teaching at the time, winter breaks, summer breaks, fall break. I had a lot of, paid time off where I could sit and write for 8 hours a day without any sacrifice. So, I credit people who have full-time jobs in their writing because it's much harder.
All right, so what comes after Lostborn?
What do you mean? What do you imply?
What's next?
Lostborn 2.
Well, what's next in the adventure of Mr. Jowers?
Well,
Yeah.
from after Lostborn, I took a kind of a hiatus from writing because life went sideways. I ended up losing my job as a teacher simply because of budgetary concerns. But that was a real hit. I really enjoyed teaching and I loved my students. I really just enjoyed working with those kids. And then, I wasn't going to be their teacher anymore. So that was tough. And as a teacher, you get that. Anytime when they graduate or when you have to move on to another position. So I moved to Nashville and then life just took over from there. I tried writing a couple of things, it didn't work. And then recently, I've started working on a new fantasy idea that has really sank its teeth into me. And I don't have any of this. Started already writing it. I've started doing a sort of a world Bible, if you will, centered around the character. But one thing I hate in fantasy is the chosen one. If he's the chosen one or she's the chosen one, then you know they're going to win. Like, where's the effort? Where's the drive?
Right.
So, but what about the opposite? What if you were fated to have a good life, but someone stole your fate? So that means all of the potential evil and bad and darkness that you would avoid is in your life all the time. Under that grind, how long would it take for you to become the villain? Could you remain a good person? And so that idea kind of hooked me, and I came up with a very different approach to it. And so I've been working on that, and hopefully, knock on wood, nothing else gets in the way. You know, don't lose the fire, don't lose the drive. And hopefully I'll have the first draft done by the end of this year. That's my goal.
I kind of like the sound of that.
Awesome.
That's a
Looking forward to that.
it's like the opposite of a lot of stories you see where you start off with a character that maybe isn't the best kind of person. Then through the story, he becomes the chosen one and a good person. So you're starting off with someone who starts off like really good, and the challenge they must overcome is not being ground down to become the villain eventually.
Because think about it, like in your life, when things go wrong, they hurt you worse if if you failed, part of you could understand why you didn't get the job. I didn't work hard enough. But if you work really hard and don't get the promotion, well, why? Oh, just because? That sometimes creates more a negative effect on your character, on who you are.
Something's out of your power.
Actually, I've got to relaunch it. I forgot that my trial expired. I've launched a podcast called The Confession of Johnny 8. And I've got 3 episodes. They're going to go up again this week. They'll be on Stitcher. I'm trying to get them on Spotify and the other locations as well. But Stitcher's my home. That's where I started on podcasts myself. I love listening to a lot of different kind of horror podcasts, especially Chilling Tales for Dark Nights. We'll shout out to them. But it's the story of a serial killer who is confessing to murdering well over 40 people in 3 years. But his confession is he turns into a giant tarantula and eats them.
So like I guess you are you to believe him, or is this real, or
is it real? Is this guy crazy? Is he actually killing evil people? Because that's sort of the hook, is that he eats these people, but they're all bad.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of Frailty. There's a movie that came out.
Little inspired by Frailty, by the way.
Yeah, that was such a good
horror film. Yes.
Oh, it's such a good, like the concept, like where they don't divulge, like, you know, the perspective and which one's actual reality.
They let you do it. I loved it.
Yeah, I love it.
Well,
check that movie out.
The reader do the work of, or the listener do the work of the terror for the person. That's pretty good.
And basically, it's him confessing. There's no special effects. It's not an audio drama. It's just him telling you about the people that he's killed, his life, sharing his life as a spider, as a human spider in the world, and also the various other supernatural entities that he's run across.
That sounds interesting. I kind of want to check that out.
And I'll have it up in a couple of days again. I've got the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, if you can shoot us over a link for that too, we'll put it on the video when it's all done, so that we can.
I hope to get him back up tomorrow or Tuesday. Because I've got to upgrade my account and all that to make sure they're up. I was using the free account thing. I forgot that it went out because I was getting ready to show you guys and pitch it to you as well.
Awesome. Well, I have just one more question. We're running out of time just because of the constraints of, well, how long people watch certain segments. But you know, we could talk to you for hours. I feel like you got a great personality. But John and Ronnie and I have one thing in common, and that's we love to doodle. We love to draw. Artistry is a big passion of ours. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned having Mitch Foust actually. Can you tell me a little bit about maybe how you were lucky enough to hook up with him, to get him to be the person that did this project with you?
Well, really, it was just friendship. I've been friends with Mitch for, I can't even tell you, probably more than 10 years, maybe a little bit less, but it's been a long time. I became friends with someone he knew named Jim Hall, another outstanding artist, an amazing artist. Jim and I were working on a project together, so I would sit with him at conventions, and that would let me sit with Dean Zachary, another great artist, and Mitch.
Oh, yeah, I have a picture here actually from Dean Zachary.
Dean and I used to hang out all the time. I miss Dean. But Jim brought me along because I was writing a project that he was going to do with me. And Mitch saw that I was business, though, at a convention. I was about selling, artwork for the guys when they weren't there. I kept the line moving across the table. So Mitch was like, oh, this guy knows why we're here. We're not just sit here to talk comics and goof off. And we found out we had a ton in common. And then we just started hanging out at conventions and talking to each other and became friends and became pretty good friends. So I was very lucky, very, very lucky that I got him to do the cover and he did the interior art. And he was a great sounding board too, because if I wasn't writing, he wanted to know why. So it was that's what you need to have. You need those people in your life to go, oh yeah, man, that stinks that you got sick this weekend. So you need to start writing next week or start writing, when you start filming it. Like you need that motivation and that push.
Mm-hmm.
And he was that. He's a great guy.
Yeah, I call that my wife, actually. She's the one that does all that to me. But it's on a daily basis. Hey, did you remember to do that thing I told you to do? Did you remember to do that thing you wanted to do? But it's good to have that type of person in your life. And I'm really happy that he was the one that helped you with this, because he did a great job just on the cover and on the interior artwork and everything. We really appreciated you coming out and taking your time to talk with us about this whole deal. And hopefully we've reached out to some people for you and maybe giving you some potential new readers, or if we've reached out and touched a potential next writer so that we can see what they're going to come out with too. But again, everybody, don't forget to like, subscribe. We'll go ahead and put in some links so that you can check out Mr. Jowers' stuff, and maybe even go ahead and put a link in for Mitch Foust, his webpage, and some stuff for him as well, because this is all about supporting the community, and that's what we aim to do. So thank you again, sir, for coming out. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully we can have you back again when you're launching that audiobook and anything else great that you have planned to do. But until then, this is still Tony Stevens, and still telling you to keep it real, stay good to each other, and always support your friends. And until next time, don't forget to show this show to your grandmother.